Hi everyone, this here's Tracilyn, also known as VCat, and I'm back in the mountain again to finish up my story. I think I was taken off in the beginning of my music career. But before I do that, I want to show you a caterpillar. Caterpillars. I wonder where that caterpillar is crawling off to. Is it going to turn into a butterfly someday? Possibly. Got a lot in common with that caterpillar. I almost stepped on it, you know. Sometimes when you're squirming around on a dirt pile in the middle of nowhere, somebody can come along and step on you. I hope that doesn't happen to the caterpillar. Whatever it transforms into, it has a very happy life. I'm gonna find a spot. I used to come back here a lot with my dog. We'd walk the railroad bed for hours. We'd come to this big open field. I would sit, meditate, soak up the beauty. Today, I'm going to do my very best to walk with you and share my story. Being in the music business for the first time in my life. Making a go of it to the best of my ability. I'll be right back. Alright, I'm back. Look at the view. Isn't this beautiful? Believe it or not, when I used to come here, it used to remind me of a place I think I was telling you about in a few other videos ago. A place called Middle Creek. Wildlife. Always had a strong appreciation for the view that's out here. Great place to come relax, think, reflect on life. Things that I'm struggling with. Very peaceful. Very peaceful. It's a little cold out here for me. Windy. So yesterday, I was beginning to share with you life and my struggles and wanting to do nothing but music. Almost ever since that day I was born, I knew that's what I wanted to do. One thing I was attracted to the most. And I tell you, it's been very haunting to me. Most people who know me will share that with you. But I didn't realize at the time that I was struggling with just being myself, period. Just being myself. And trying somehow, some way to fit into this world. Without being so much of an outsider. I know I'm not alone here with this. I got bit. I better move up the line here. There's a railroad bed I think I'm going to walk on while I'm talking to you. A lot of jaggers. As we stumble our way through life, it doesn't seem to be that way. We get jaggers in our legs, on our jeans. Be careful not to step on the caterpillars. Something that I'd never mentioned was my brother, my older brother, from my mom, and he had a different father. He was the one person in my whole life that recognized not only the desire for me to do music and play guitar, but the necessity for me to be who I am and to pursue music. Whether that's just playing guitar or singing, he wanted me to follow my dreams, whatever they were. Let me tell you something, I reflect back on that often and realize the importance of that. We need a cheerleader, somebody to cheer us on, no matter who we are. Because sometimes the world can beat us down and make us feel that we are unworthy, untalented of doing that. I don't know how else to say it. Once I get started here, it'll be on a roll. The earliest time that I can remember is back when our junior high school band was starting to do Cinderella songs so we could enter the talent show contest. And from what I shared, we weren't playing it at that time like the band was playing it. We were playing it our own way. And let me tell you, it really was pretty awful. I was surprised we pulled it off. And I'll never forget, he was living in a different home at that time. He actually took the time to take me to his place, and he was always more technical than me. He ended up playing guitar in later years, you'll find out. And he wanted to learn the theory. He's very intelligent. He learned the theory and things that I never even considered because my brain just wasn't there. As I was telling you, through even my guitar lessons that I would get, I learned that if somebody's showing me, taking time to invest in me by sitting down, I learn a little bit slower than other people, but if you show me, I'll be able to pick it up a lot quicker. Well, he took me home and we listened to Nobody's Fool, Cinderella. I don't know if this was before or after the talent show. And he showed me the way to play it. Now, I don't think he had tablature or anything. He just, by his ear, he could pick that up. Very intelligent person. And he showed me, and can I be honest? I was intimidated by that. Because I've been doing this my whole life, basically. And yes, I was wrong on a lot of things. But my brother, who seems to just be stepping in it, he dabbled in it throughout his life too, and mine as well. He started picking it up, and he showed me. He said, look, this is how it's played. I tried, and I couldn't play it that way at that time. I just couldn't do it. So you can imagine how I felt about myself right away. Here's my brother. He's learning everything that I wanted to. He's willing to take the time and show me as he was learning. Very appreciative of that. You will find out that he played a crucial role in providing me that cheer to go get 'em Tiger kind of attitude. I remember as he was learning, whether we were living at my grandparents or where we were, I remember listening to him play when, we were living at the trailer. He always seemed to be, can I say better? Really, more talented at it. But the one thing is he wanted me to do it. He really wanted me to follow through with it. I don't know why it was, but he saw something in me and he just wanted to push me forward. So he would talk to me. We'd have our talks. He was there at my times of being drunk continuously. I cried to him quite a few times. To the point that I remember one day when I was listening to Cinderella. Don't know what you got till it's gone. Okay, I'm bouncing around right now. Don't know what you got till it's gone. I just split up with the girl that I've been dating, or I missed her. Let me tell you, I went through a lot of struggles when me and my best friend separated. I went through a lot of struggles with this throughout my life because I seriously felt like I was unworthy, that she deserved so much more than I could ever provide for her. I couldn't give her the kind of life that I felt she was worthy of. And I know I'm stumbling right now. Help me out here. Can you help me out? Calm down, Tracilyn. Relax a little bit. So one day, I think I might have said this in other videos, but I went out to where he was living at that time in Myerstown. Now I'm bouncing around, okay? Different times. This is a little bit older now. And I was so drunk that my friend was so scared. The people I was hanging around with at that time were so scared that they said, you know what, you got to stop listening to the Cinderella song and go and talk to your brother. And I spilled out my heart over and over again. And let me tell you something, because he was familiar with our whole life, upbringing, and my own struggles in life. He knew I was being bulldogged around and stuff. It was kind of silent. He knew that music was an escape for me. So I would go out there. I went out there that one day and I just cried and cried, spilled out my heart to him. He was very compassionate. As time moves on now, we're at the trailer. Later years, early 20s. He's starting to learn how to play guitar. I'm excited about this, but yet I gotta be honest, I was kind of intimidated by it. He seems to only be really picking it up now, and he's teaching me. Very grateful for it looking back on it now. I'm very grateful for it. And I can't help, I'm human. I had those feelings. Well, remember I said in the other video from yesterday, I showed the house where my career started to take place in the music industry, locally. We didn't know how this was going to come together, but while I was driving truck and he knew how miserable I was and things that I was going through in my life, he kept on encouraging me. He told me he went to this open mic night, which was Cheers. I have other videos on my other YouTube page. He told me that there was an open mic night there. It would be a great opportunity on one of my days off if everything would line up, if I would take time to go there. But can I be honest with you? I didn't necessarily know what an open mic night was at that time, and I was really nervous. I don't want to go alone. Well, don't worry, Tracilyn, I'll go with you. I'll go with you, I'll take you. We can go, drink, have a good time, and I want to hear you play. I want you up on that stage. I walked into that bar room, more nervous than ever before, because understand this. I wanted to play guitar. I wanted to be a lead guitar player. I did not want to sing. I didn't feel, even though throughout my life, the response, like in junior high school when I sang my sister's song, was outstanding. Music teachers were telling me that I had a good quality voice, you know, a really nice voice. I'm going through all this, but I'm finding it hard to believe, and I gotta be honest, I don't want to sing, I want to play guitar. Well, up to that point, I never mastered it, or I never felt like I mastered it. So here we are at the open mic night, and I'm watching this guy perform, and I'm watching everything that he's doing. And let me tell you something, I love this guy so much. He has such a big heart. I'm not going to say his name. Anybody who's familiar with Cheers back in that time, you know, probably mid-90s or something like that, late 90s, they know who he is. He brought a lot of joy to a lot of people in the Lancaster County area, where he was from. My brother introduced me to him. I got to see him perform, because usually he would perform for a season, you know, for like a half hour, an hour or so. And then he would open up, you know, the stage area for the people that were guitar players and stuff, and get you an opportunity to get up there and play. He had so many friends, so many people that would show up there. So I'm meeting this guy. He's an older gentleman, and can I be honest with you? He kind of reminds me a little bit of the older Elvis. Just a little bit. He reminded me of somebody that should have been on a cruise ship performing for people. Very, very talented. Did a bootload of cover songs. And we all know how Tracilyn feels about that. But I'm looking to fit in. And I'm looking for my opportunity to get up on stage and give this a shot. So he came down, he got to meet me, talk to me. My brother introduced me to him, and I got my shot. Yes, I was drunk, but I got up on stage, and I can't remember all the cover songs I sang, but at some point, I sang my version of Jack and Diane. And can I tell you something? At the end where it says, "Oh yeah, life goes on, long after the thrill of living is gone," everybody in the bar room sang. Everybody did. They were so into it. And this, of course, reminded me of back in my junior high days when everybody gave me a standing ovation, or the whole band, a standing ovation. Instantly, I knew this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. I want to bring joy and bring people together for fun times forever. So, after the open mic night, this guy, much like my music teachers, much like my brother, he told me that he was totally surprised at my stage presence, and he believed in me. He believed that I had what it took to get out there and do it. And now at this time, he may be in his 50s or in his 40s. I'm not quite sure. He was a little bit older than me. And just like anybody else who is anybody else, you understand that sometimes you feel like you get started late in life. But this time I'm probably in my mid to late 20s and I'm already thinking, you know, under the mindset of how I was born and raised and what everybody else was doing, and now I had a child on the way. I got to stay committed here to the worldly jobs that I was told that I should be doing, which was totally against the grain of my heart. Because my health is being deteriorated. I'm totally unhappy. I know I want to do music. My brother knows I want to do music. This guy instantly upon meeting me knew that I wanted to do music and knew I should be doing it. So he took me under his wing. He gave me his connections on how I could, or he gave me his information so I could connect with him. Phone. We talked a lot of times on cell phone. And I'll never forget the conversation we had on the phone, you know, without going into details. You know, he left me know that it's not too late and that I really should consider showing up at some of his shows and enjoying life a little more, doing what I love to do. I should really do it. He thought that my voice should be heard and that I was talented enough to entertain people. So because he did a lot of shows, he worked his other jobs, did a whole lot of other things. He did the shows, and I was invited to anyone I want to go to, any show. And he guaranteed me that if I showed up, I would have the opportunity to play. Now, it wasn't just me, I found out later on. It was whoever showed up. He was a very loving man. He had a lot of connections. He really, even reflecting back now, he was the first person that I met that was so passionate about entertaining and music as I was, outside of my brother, if you will, and my family. So I started going to his shows, and I attended them for probably about a year and a half. And let me tell you, his wife, outstanding, beautiful. She would sing with him. She was building up, or he was building up her courage to get out there more, to sing more songs. He was the kind of people, he wanted to bring musicians together. It wasn't about him. It wasn't all, look, you're coming to my show, I'm going to perform, and that's it. It was trying to get as many people as possible in the music scene, or people passionate about music, to show up and share the stage with him. To share it. Most people would never allow or invite you to play with them, especially if they didn't know you, you know? And this is all new to me. Open mic night, solo acoustic. You're doing this thing? Let me tell you something. When I was in bands and having all the struggles that I did, everybody told me. I told them, I used to talk about the possibilities of going out and doing it as a solo acoustic person. And their exact words were, if you were a piano person, you know, Piano Man, Billy Idol, Billy Joel, Billy Idol, with the rebel yell, that it would be possible. Because there's opportunities if you play piano and you can sing. You do lounge acts, all kinds of things, right? But as a solo acoustic person, it was really unheard of amongst the people I was hanging with. If you didn't have a band, it's just not going to work out. And let's face it, Tracilyn, you're not really that talented, and you're not... with the people I was hanging with, you're not much of a singer because you don't sound like everybody else. You know, you don't play guitar note for note. All this stuff is going through my head. But not with this guy. He openly admitted, I only know a few chords. And he did the same songs. He had this big repertoire of music that he did. And he played these songs faithfully at every show, all the time. And they were the favorites. They were the favorites of the people who went to these bars. And because he wanted to bring joy into the lives of other people, he was very devoted, very committed to that. So now I'm hanging around this guy who looks a lot like Elvis. He's doing a lot of classic rock, But can I tell you, at that time, something clicked through country music. Remember I was talking about that in my last video? And there was something inside me that says, okay, I can't sing like the rock and rollers. But for some reason, there was something that happened to me that said I could do country music. I don't know what it was, but I felt like I could sing songs by Alan Jackson, Toby Keith. I wanted to sing the girls' songs, to be honest with you. But at that time, I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm in guy mode. I want to be honest with you. I was in guy mode. And the whole thing is I'm trying so hard in a world that has already declared that I was a guy to be as manly as absolutely possible. So when I would show up at his shows, he would give me an opportunity, because I wasn't too good at playing along with others, because I pretty much just knew chords. And to me, in my head, I was thinking, why should I be playing exactly what you're playing? I'm not much of a solo player. At that time, I wasn't confident enough to do that. It took me a long time to get to that level. So I would get up there, and I kind of had the country thing going on, and he thought this was great. It was an addition to his show. So now we're sharing the stage with each other, playing a couple songs. You know, that was always cool. You get up there, you sing a couple songs, he'd introduce me. He'd take about a half-hour break. The stage was mine. I could do whatever I wanted to do, and I chose to do country. Be My Baby Tonight was one. I forget who sings that. John Michael Montgomery or something like that. I forget. I'd have to look it up. Maybe you can look it up for me. Be My Baby Tonight was a really big one. And George Strait I would do, Alan Jackson, Toby Keith. And let me tell you something, the bar rooms would go crazy over this. This was something very different, but yet it was what was popular amongst the crowds of people that would go. So, long and behold, guess who became a country singer? He had a phenomenal friend that played guitar, and he did all the leads. So this gentleman now was performing. He's inviting his friend to the show, and he would show up. He's from out of state or whatever, I guess originally from here. And let me tell you something. I'm very critical of things, and this guy could play all over that guitar. He played an acoustic guitar like I was seeing some of the greatest guitar players on my television set. Very impressed with that. So what do you think I did? I went to these shows, and I sat up front, and I stared in awe. Here's my friend who is one of the most magnificent entertainers I ever met. Seriously, he's an amazing entertainer for what he was doing. Why he never went down to the beaches and ships, I don't know why. He has his reasons. And we got this amazing guitar player that would play with him sometimes. Always look forward to him coming back home to our area and playing, usually around the holidays and stuff. Not only was it with him and his friend, but he also, through his marriage, had like a stepson who was in a really popular band at that time in our local area in Lancaster County. And boy, when he sang, oh my goodness, I had to get to know this guy. I really did. I had to get to know him. I got to see his band a few times, and I'm just like, this is great. I'm finally connecting with all these people that have all this musical talent. And this guy, for the first time in my life, he, much like the guitar teacher, he took me under his wing. And he showed me what to do and what not to do. Okay? He showed me the secrets of his success, which was, he told me straight up, I'm not that technical in my playing. I just play very basic chords. Okay? I sing songs that everybody likes. I have great relationships, and I work with the bar owners and the bartenders. He taught me how to be generous. He would tip like the bartenders and stuff like that and get a couple drinks. And he would always on his breaks take time to go around and talk to people individually. Very unselfish person. Very unselfish. He gave his whole heart, and it's what he looked forward to. So while he's working, you know, and he's driving, he traveled a lot. He did like installed alarms or something for houses. And let me tell you something. He would take the time to call me. He would double check. Are you practicing? Are you ready for this weekend show? I want you to come. I want you to come. I want you to come. And guess what? Tracilyn is driving truck. Tracilyn has a child on the way. Or at that time, maybe was born. I'm trying to balance all this in my life. Anybody who knows me knows I have challenges with that. It's very hard for me to concentrate and balance everything. And I'm a Libra. we're the scale of life. We do try to balance things. So of course, now I'm driving truck and I'm getting excited. Now my imagination is starting to ignite again. I'm thinking of all the endless possibilities. Think about this. I'll always show up for practice. If I book shows or I get booking shows, guess what? I'm going to show up there. I'm going to play. I want to play. I want to play, and I want to bring joy to people's lives, and I want to make friends. That was really big to me. And I want to spend the rest of my days doing that. I will tell you right now, 2 things. Number 1, I was in awe when I first met this gentleman and I saw how he was playing, because to me, it was realistic for me. Very basic, like he said, just chords. He was a strummer, strumming chords. So I'm like, I can do this. It's nothing too technical, right? I'm sitting there like a little child in awe, watching this guy perform. I'm friends with a performer, and he's very well known in that area. He warned me, Tracilyn, whatever you do, don't just up and quit your job and start doing this. This is a very challenging life to live, okay? Gotta almost be a workhorse. You gotta have a lot of shows lined up. Let me tell you something, there'd be times he would work on the prices because the venue, for whatever reason, that night might not have worked out, so he would stay and play, and he'd work out and negotiate with the owner or the manager about maybe working on the price so he would get more shows. I mean, he taught me so much stuff. It was unbelievable. And now we're talking to each other. Even when I'm out on the road, I would get so excited, dropping the cell phone while I'm driving the truck down the interstate, listening to Eminem. I want to talk to my friend. I'm getting excited about life. I'm getting excited about life again. I'm getting the passion back. I don't want to just drive all day, work all day, go home and lay around on the couch. I really want to do this. I want to be involved. I want to be involved, and I want to entertain people. Okay? It was in my blood ever since I was little. You can only imagine what this done in my personal life with the relationship of my child that was soon to be, or was by that time. She was in total disagreement. You got a family now. You got to keep working. Don't stop working. Work, 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 work. But I'm thinking differently. I'm thinking I want to spend time with my family, as much quality time as I can, and I see an opportunity that I could work 1 or 2 days a week and have the whole entire week to share with my family, to share with my child. One thing is for sure, I did not have a child so that they could end up going to child care services or babysitter. I want to be there with my child through its school years, through its home time, you know, when it's just a baby. I wanted to grow up with this child. It was an outlet for me to bring back to life some of my youth. Okay, understand, this was very important to me that I get out of truck driving as soon as possible. So, I'll be honest, for 1.5 years, I toured around with him as much as I could. I arranged to have, my deliveries done and be at home. But it's hard now to balance work, family life, and then also trying to step into a career. I had to practice a lot of songs, constantly. Very annoying to the people that were closest to me. Or I should say my family, my child's mother. I don't want to ride too much. Okay? But this was a challenge in our relationship. Obviously, for any musician, if you're not a musician upon meeting somebody, it can be very challenging for other people to accept. Let's face it, at this time I'm realizing I was not a musician, and that was her thing. You were not a musician when I met you, but I was. I just wasn't performing live anywhere. Very unfortunate for me, but she made a very strong point with that. So now this is twisting and beating up my head, but I said, you know what? I believe in myself. I can do this. This is realistic. It's what I've been wanting to do since my youth. I'm going to do it. So I turned in the keys. at all costs, and I said I'm diving right into it. I had myself somewhat of a savings, you know. I could get myself a little bit of equipment. I didn't need a whole lot because it's just me and acoustic guitar. I will learn songs, and let me tell you something. Probably realistically over a season of time, I learned over 100 songs. And I was kind of like a human jukebox. I made a song list, passed them around, started having all kinds of shaker toys and stuff. And let me tell you something, when people came to the show, basically it was a replication of what my friend taught me, okay? With a little bit different. I wanted to be different, but let's be honest, I didn't know how to do it, and he taught me his ways. So I kind of picked up what he was doing. I was just copying and pasting. So basically, no matter where I went to play, it was almost like seeing his show. Very similar. But I did do a lot of country, and I promoted myself as a country singer. Let me tell you something. In an area that demands classic rock is what's popular, it's hard to survive as a country singer. So now I had to transition somehow from doing my country music to doing classic rock. And can I tell you, that's why in my songs you'll hear about me mentioning about Jimmy Buffett. Because it never failed. Everybody, everywhere, when they're drinking and having a good time, let's face it, we love Jimmy Buffett. I love Jimmy Buffett too. But I want to do my own stuff, okay? I knew that throughout my life. I want to do my own songs, because then I don't have to try with this comparing. Do I sound like this person? Do I sound like this person? No. You know what? I don't sound like this person. And I struggled with that throughout my whole music career. I really did. That was very, very challenging for me, because I knew it wasn't realistic. I couldn't do it. And I didn't know much about finding my voice. I didn't know much about finding my key to sing in on a regular basis, you know, with all the songs, transitioning all the songs over to make it realistic for me to be able to sing the songs similar, but in my own way. At that time, I did not master that. I was trying to play the songs in the same keys as other musicians, and I was trying to sing just like them, and I just could not do it. But country music was a little bit easier for me. I learned through the process, because I was doing it so much, that I would have to tune my guitar down a whole step, because my voice, even to this day I have problems with my voice. But let me tell you something, I was having a lot of struggles with this, and I realized because I started singing out sometimes 4 or 5 nights a week. Sometimes I'd do 3 shows in one day, 24 hours, no lie. This is how excited I was to be a part of this. I did it for 7.5 years. And you're gonna find out in my beginning years, although I was warned not to do it, I went out and I did it. I jumped in. If I'm gonna do it, I might as well just jump in. Jump in the Swatty and learn how to swim very quickly. I figured I learned more than enough by this time. I spent a lot of time on the road thinking. It was already 1.5 years gone by. I'm very comfortable being on the stage. I want to be on the stage all the time. It's what I want to do. So he said, if you're going to do this, you got to do it right. You got to get your name out there. In Lancaster County, there's something known at that time anyway as a barfly. That barfly went around to all the local bars, the popular bars. Plus they had, now the websites are starting to become popular. So he arranged it to try to lift me up a little bit, my first interview. So I got an interview and I submitted a picture, of course country style, had a whole lot of guitars. Understand, now I'm starting to promote myself through a magazine by he helped me to get that interview. This is also when I started taking pictures of myself, because now I had access to a digital camera. In my underwear, nude. Because I'm still knowing, something inside of me is telling me, you know, why am I wishing that I was a girl? I was a girl, I was a girl, I was a girl. Remember, that's a whole other videos, and I'll talk more about my transgendered life later. But instantly when I stepped out to entertain, all this stuff is kind of eating at me yet. It was the most depressing time of my life. Because you find out it wasn't long after I quit my job driving truck and started doing this, that my child's other parents said, you know what, enough's enough, I can't deal with this. Things started getting really bad then, and I already explained that. I don't want to keep repeating that over and over again. Things got out of control. She was in disagreement with it. I didn't know what to do with it. I had to be me. I had to be me at all costs. And I'd like to share more, probably with my son, so that he can have a fuller, richer understanding of my perspective. I don't want to let out too much about this. You guys know in other videos that I have had a complete mental and stress breakdown to where I passed out. I froze like that lightning when it flashed. I froze and I fell down. Well, that's exactly what happened to me one day in my apartment on Cumberland Street. I was on the phone. I couldn't take it anymore. I couldn't take the stress of fighting. I was trying to reason. And for some reason, it just wasn't working out. And I froze, got paralyzed almost. And I snapped and I fell on the floor in a puddle of tears. And I froze. Couldn't deal with it. My health is deteriorating very quickly. Now my drinking's increasing because I'm out, I'm doing these venues. I'm smoking all the time. Everyone around me, bless their souls. Here's another drink, here's another drink, here's another drink. And a lot of the venues, everybody's smoking in there. Let me tell you something, it just totally destroys your voice. I can go on and on and on about stuff like that. If it's one thing that I always wanted to do, and I realized, is I wanted to break my addiction of drinking. I wanted to break my addiction of smoking. I didn't want to depend on any kind of drugs or anything. I wanted to do what I love to do, and I want to get out of these atmospheres. I wanted to get into what I considered a more positive environment to do what I was doing, but I didn't know how to do it. And I wanted to move up the ladder, whatever that meant. I wanted to start recording my songs. So I used to go to a guitar place out in Jonestown. And let me tell you something, I already talked in other videos about this guy who owned that guitar shop that was a phenomenal guitar player. Huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. And let me tell you, his playing showed it. Amazing, amazing, amazing talent. Amazing guitar technician, if that's what the proper word for it. He had his own guitar store. He worked on all the guitars. Everybody knew in the local area, this is a place to go. Let me tell you something. Every time I would go in there to get supplies or to have my guitars set up, he always had some kind of wisdom to share with me. He could understand, for some reason, he understood a lot of the BS that I was going through, the struggles, emotional struggles with being a musician. The desire to record my own music, the desire to do my own thing, my desire to get signed to a record label, my desire to move to a bigger city, connect with other musicians, to get a band together. He knew I was doing straight acoustic music. And I'll tell you, by that time, money became an addiction to me too, because I started doing quite well. And a lot of other musicians, I would go to see them at their open mic nights, try to connect with them. I learned a lot from evaluating their shows, just like I did from television and going to other live concerts. So I would go to these shows, I would evaluate, how can I tailor my shows to make myself a little more successful, to give people what it is, what are they hungry for, what is it that they want, okay? Being completely honest with that, it became an addiction. I was thriving. At this time, unfortunately for me, my son's not much in my life, and I had to come to grips with this, believing someday, some way, somehow, this is all gonna work out. But right now, since I have nothing else, I'm not gonna go down a road and focus on anything else but my career. That's all I'm going to do, and I'm gonna stay committed and devoted to it. And let me tell you something, it burned me out. That's all I did. Music. The problem was, I was dabbling with writing songs, you know, in the apartment that I was showing on the other video first, on Lehman Street. That's where I wrote Tequila. And let me tell you something, I was drinking. It wasn't tequila at that time, it might have been Jim Beam. That was a big drink for me. I was a big Jim Beam drinker with Sprite. It tastes like a creamsicle. And I was drunk all the time. Still dealing with all my other struggles. Now I'm dealing with the separation of the family that I wanted so bad to work things out somehow. However it's going to work out, let's work it out. Evidently, I'm beating myself up now because something told me I was responsible to keep that family together somehow. Even though I wanted him, my son, in my life, I got to be honest. I didn't want her in my life. I wanted her in my life only as little as possible. To be mature and respectful for his sake, that we could get along. But I knew 100% because, let me just say, I wanted to be with a guy. I wanted to be with a guy somehow, some way. But it didn't mean I didn't want my son in my life. Okay? But now I became a workaholic. I had to. In my mind, I had to, because it's what I longed to do forever. And can I tell you, I learned. Anybody who tells you if you do what you love in life, then you're never going to work a day in your life, that's a lie. That is a lie. I had to do a lot more of what I didn't like so I could take time to do what I did like. Okay? Let me explain on that. By the time I was living on Cumberland Street, just before I met the last girl that I was dating, I got introduced to the computers, I got introduced to the internet. When I wasn't doing a show, I was on that internet, designing my website, doing the very best I can, communication, reaching out to other people, advertise, promote, looking for new shows to do. I was calling people all the time. Can I come play at your venue? Let me tell you something. For all the musicians out there, the best advice I can give is do everything you can to get your foot in the door to sing absolutely for free. If you believe in yourself, you're going to walk out of there with a handful of shows. You don't need a press kit. You don't need a press kit. Many people told me in the beginning, get a press kit together with your music, record yourself, take pictures and stuff. Obviously, this is what I was doing in the very beginning. And start walking around, introducing yourself and giving them to them. Let me tell you something. In most situations, they take those press kits and put them on a pile with a whole bunch of other press kits, or they just throw them away. In most situations, they are not being listened to. So, can I come in during happy hour? This is who I am, you know. I got a website, blah, blah, blah. A lot of people didn't even want to go check out the website. You heard a lot of different excuses, things that I don't want to get too heavy about, but can I just say I heard everything. I heard the owner theirself, who I ended up having relationships with, they would actually tell me, no, they're not here right now. Oh, they're busy, they're doing other things. And I'm like, no, that's you. That's you. I know your voice. I recognize it. Nope, they're not here. They're not here. I'll put a message here. They'll call you back. They never call you back. Very frustrating. Very frustrating. Let me tell you, even though I gained the talent and the ability to do that, I do not like being a booking agent. It's just not, it sucked up a lot of my energy. I want to be writing songs. I want to be recording my own stuff. It's bad enough for me at that time that in order for me to get in the door, I had to do what everybody else was doing, because basically there was a circuit, a lot of venues. And let me tell you something, if you weren't doing Jimmy Buffett and all the classic rock that was really popular, like the other groups that were getting these venues, you're not playing there. Okay, bottom line, you're not going to play there. We don't want to hear your music. What we want to do is we want to sell drinks. We want to sell food. Okay, makes sense to me, right? Makes sense. It makes sense to you? It makes sense to you. Well, now I'm struggling with this. I want to make a living doing what I love to do, but yet I'm not doing anything I want to do. I became a human jukebox. In this process, guys come into the show and stuff. I started noticing that there was a lot of guys that were attracted to me, you know, privately, and I'm not mentioning nobody's name. Privately, they would invite me, you know, to places afterwards. We would talk. I was talking, sometimes fooling around with a couple of them. I'm exploring my sexuality through this. One thing I loved about being a musician is, for the most part, if I wanted to wear leather pants, at the time, in the beginning, my hair was long, looked like Billy Ray Cyrus. I looked like a Billy Ray Cyrus wannabe. It was horrible. You know, it really was horrible looking back on it now. I have pictures of when I first started out with this gentleman taking me to his shows, and let me tell you something, you could see how unhealthy my whole appearance was. Very unhealthy. You could tell that I was strung out from working because of the other job that I had. You could tell my health was deteriorating. You could see the changes, though, that were occurring from the beginning of my career to the end. I started having more time to work out, okay? I spent a lot of time back here walking around, soul searching. Because why ain't I happy? Why isn't Tracilyn happy? I'll tell you why. Because basically I was becoming a people pleaser. A master at this. Let me tell you something. I took advice from a lot of people because now I'm going and I'm observing other shows. I'm looking at their professional image. And I'm saying, okay, maybe the leather pants and the long hair isn't going to work. The way that I want to dress isn't going to work. So I started meeting other bartenders and owners that would sit down with me. They had such big hearts. They loved me so much. They really appreciated what I had to offer. And I got to be honest, the combination of the venue and myself, it was a hit or miss in some situations, but a lot of the venues I played at regularly. I regularly went back to these places, and sometimes they would book me for the whole entire year, whether it be once a month, every 2 weeks, you know, different days of the week. A couple places I played at for a long time, you know, like in Lancaster, I'm going to say a venue. I played at the Roadhouse for a very long time, 2.5 years. The owner or the manager, absolutely outstanding person. And he wanted me regular. He said, if we're going to do this, let's do it on a regular basis. Let's do it every Thursday. I think it was on a Thursday. I'm not sure. It could have been a Wednesday. But let's do this every single week. And we'll get some regulars in here. I always worked out a very good price for people who were willing to have me on a regular basis because it was a regular gig. It made it easier for me. Steady income kind of thing going on. And the one thing that I was trying so desperately to do is to get away from the necessity to keep having to call people, trying me out in new venues. I don't want to keep doing that. You know, listen to me. That is a lot of work. A lot of work. And it's taken me away from other things in life that I would much rather be doing. So, well then, Tracilyn, why don't you go back to driving truck? Why don't you go do something else? Because this is what I've been wanting to do my whole life. And I said, you know what, at all costs, at some time, if I keep believing in myself, keep believing in myself, keep believing in myself, I will get past this. Can I assure you it never happened? I never got past it. I'm doing everything. Now I'm starting to get involved by talking to other people. You know, you ought to consider cutting your hair. You ought to consider dressing different. Now understand, these are coming from a lot of the ladies. I ended up talking to a lot of the ladies, bartenders, managers, owners, and very successful people, by the way, in the business. Very successful. I love them dearly. So they know how much it means to me. Everybody who knows me knows how much I want to do this. Change your image a little bit. Cut your hair. It's always the first thing to go. Remember I told you the first time I ever cut my hair was when I was 16. Time to get a job, time to get a car, time to start finding other avenues in life to connect with people, make friends and stuff. Can I tell you something? I look back now and it was absolutely ridiculous because I did look like a Billy Ray Cyrus wannabe. So it was time to cut my hair. I cut my hair, changed my appearance, but do you think I was happy about that? No. No, because I like long hair. Not necessarily that hairstyle I had, to be honest with you. And I was looking at pictures of myself. It's one thing when I got involved in this, and now I started perfecting my image. Working in classic rock songs, even though I wanted to be country. I figured I'm getting older, let's work on country. Sorry, Tracilyn, you want to do country, move down south somewhere, but up here it's going to be classic rock. That's what everybody does, blues and classic rock. And can I be honest with you, I didn't want to do blues. Not like the traditional blues that everybody else was doing, the jazz and stuff. I wanted to play all the stuff that looked fun on MTV. You know, CMT at this time, CMT. so I was doing a lot of songs, to be honest with you, that people weren't digging. So I started transitioning to understand my music over to classic rock. We got that taken care of, but Tracilyn, you got to change your image. You got a good point. Let me tell you something. Throughout my career, I was a master at this. I could do all kinds of venues. I could play, listen, I mean this all respectfully. Let me just say, kind of your back room, kind of, how can I say this? I used to do anything from biker bars, to yacht clubs, to healthcare facilities. You'll find out I played some pretty amazing venues at Ocean City, Maryland. Let me just put it this way in simple terms. I could play anywhere that there was a venue that would accept an opportunity to play acoustic music. Anywhere. Even where bands were playing and no other acoustic player was playing, I could play. I was good. I became a very good, very wise business person. And let me tell you something, I could sell myself like that. I had no problems. I was very confident. My confidence was way up there, where God is. My confidence in myself was outstanding. I already know I looked the part. I already know that I had the songs that everybody wanted to hear. Why was I miserable? I was very well respected by a lot of people. Started having a regular fan base. Let me tell you something, I started going back and forth to Jonestown. That's where I would always go to get my guitars worked on and stuff. Let me tell you something. This guy, he knew what was going on in my mind and heart. He didn't need to know me that well. He knew me from going in. He'd always ask me all the time, how are things coming along? How are things coming along? And he knew I wanted to go what I figured was on a larger scale. I wanted to tour the world, get together with a band. I wanted my music on the radio. I wanted to do videos. I wanted to do all this stuff. But I'm really not connecting with people. And really, now people are coming into my life. And can I be honest with you? I don't really have time. I don't really have time because I'm running a business. And when I'm not running a business, I'm out here in the mountains soul searching. I needed time to decompress. Now, the gentleman who helped me get started, he would have a lot of events at his house on his property a couple times a year. And can I tell you something? It was a great opportunity because he was all about bringing all the local musicians, bands, everything together. This is the place you come. He had an in-ground swimming pool. He had the best food. And let me tell you something. Everybody loved him. Everybody loved him. And did you ever feel that way? You want to be kind of like that person? You know, you want that energy. You want to attract people to you, not repel them. Well, if I wasn't repelling people from me, I was repelled by them because I want to stay busy doing my business. And I realized that if I'm going to be sharing the stage with anybody, guess what? We're going to either have to get more money or I'm going to have to start giving a cut. And I got to be honest, if I'm already doing it by myself, what's the point? What's the point until I get to a certain level? This is stuff that was honestly going through my head. So until I figured that there'd come to this point where there'd be a little more relief, I didn't have to worry so much about my finances and stuff, but things would work out. At that time now, of course, also throughout my career, I'm starting to get bigger vehicles. I needed a cargo van. I'm starting to travel, save hotel expenses and stuff. I'll sleep in the van. No problem with that. I loved it. I loved it a lot. But we're getting out of the car. The car I had a little 88 Z24 Cavalier. I had to take the passenger seat out and so I could put my speaker cabinets in there and stuff. It was horrible. If I would have ever got into an accident, which I think I talked about how I hit deer and stuff like that on my way home from shows and things. Let me tell you something. It would have been horrible, horrific, the way I packed that car full of my equipment. Figured it was time to get a cargo van. But someday, and I would tell people, someday I'm going to have a tour bus and be flying on down the interstate. Got shows all over the country to do. Heading up to Canada tomorrow. And I'm going to be driving it myself, more than likely. Just doing it by myself, that's all. Cars tugged behind. Have my dog with me. It's crazy. I was miserable. Miserable. I became a workhorse. That's all I did. Why wasn't I happy? I know why I wasn't happy. Because my whole image was going in the wrong direction. So this guy tells me at the music store, he says, hold still a minute. You want to be a professional, don't you? I said, yes, I want to be a professional musician. That's what I want to do for the rest of my life. He says, did you ever make $1 at it? He said, a couple. He said, if you made $1, somebody gave you $1 to sing a song, you're a professional. Get that in your head. You're already a professional. You're already doing it. And he told me he would have conversations with me and say, you know what? Sometimes it's better to be a bigger fish in a smaller pond than it is to be a very small fish in a tremendously big pond. Let me tell you something. He would say just little tiny things. I never left there without something to come up here in the mountains and think about. For weeks. Very intelligent man. He's been around. He knew. He had a lot of friends, a lot of connections. Everybody knew him. You know, he knows the struggles that we all go through as a musician, as an artist, as a human being. You know, very wise person. One of the things that I wanted to do the most, he would ask me questions, you know, to see, you know, what am I doing to take efforts to move forward in the direction I want to go. It was amazing. Looking back on it now, I could see he's kind of guiding me here. Do you have any recordings? You know, I can help you out. We can put your CD or something out here. You know, if it sells, it sells. If not, you know, at least it's there. The opportunity is there for you. Maybe you can start doing that at other music stores and stuff. You know, it's a good way to get started. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, how do I get a recording? I don't know the first thing about it. He ended up giving me a connection to somebody in my hometown. I got to meet this person. I had a very small demo cassette. Oh gosh, it was awful. I made it in a storage unit out in Jonestown. It was a very spiritual though. I noticed this reflecting back on a lot of the times that I was sitting down with a recorder. It was a very spiritual happening. Like sometimes I would feel like there was other energy sources around me. All the time. Like there was something helping me. And I would listen to these recordings and be like, I can't believe I heard that. There's something else here with me. I took this recording, and can I tell you something? I got to meet this guy, sat right across the desk from him. He listened to it. And he leaned back in the chair and he said, I believe I can help you. And the way that he talked to me in that conversation, I was like the first person in my whole life that believes in my music. My music. My music. No one else's. I already knew I don't want to keep being a human jukebox. I want to do my stuff. Oh, what a nightmare this became. Because Tracilyn wants to move like this. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's get it done. And again, other people have other priorities. He had a job. He was already in the music industry, which I did not know, and you know, through years ago. And I don't want to get too heavy about it. Let me tell you something. He never told me. Never told me who he was. He was all about show. I'll show you what I can do. So, long story short, it was supposed to be a 10-song CD. Okay, I wanted that 10-song CD. Now I can get it ready for packaging and all this stuff and put it out there to sell. My friend at the music store is going to help me out. I'll find other music stores, record stores and stuff. I started looking for places I could put this on display. Now I'm designing my own website. I can sell it on there. I can take it to my shows. I can do all this stuff. I already started making t-shirts, all kinds of stuff. You know, I'm thinking this is great. Now understand, I'm designing all this stuff coming up. My brother designed a logo for me. Okay, remember I told you my brother believed in me the whole time, throughout my whole life? He's psyched up. He's coming to my shows. I want to help you. I want to help you. I'll make you a logo. You need a logo. Logo was pretty outstanding. It captured the eyes of people. I was surprised to see people wearing the shirts proudly. I got to be honest. I was surprised about this. Pretty intense, you know? we get going on this. As we start making these recordings, I'm noticing it's taking a long, did I say long? Time to do. To the point that I had to surrender and say, you know what? Is there something else we could do here instead of a whole album? Maybe we could do like a promotional demo or an EP, was it? I was figuring this stuff out, you see, as I was talking to different people and stuff. This might be the right way to go. I just need those recordings. I was at that time, I have to do something here. I have to get my own music out there. So, can I tell you, finally, the day has come. We got 3 songs done. Was it almost a year? 3 songs for a year. I'll never forget when he played those songs. I fell down on my knees when he played the slow song, Only Spoken Words. I fell down on my knees at his desk and I cried. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I was totally blown away. This was exactly what I was looking for. Or so I thought. My whole life, I want to make music like this forever. I want to make music like this. I want to make my songs out there. This is going to help me so much. This is a song I wrote about Jonestown on the front porch. This is a song for my mother. And that song has a history that I don't have time to explain. But let me tell you something. I poured out my heart in that song because the lady I got rigs with in a relationship, she also was a supporter of it. And this is when I was getting into country music, and she said, you know, we were drinking one day and she's like, don't you want to write your own music? I was like, yeah, but I don't really know how. You know, I dabbled with it a little bit here and there. And she said, well, let's do it now. And she grabbed a tablet and she grabbed a pen, and I was like, I don't know what to do. She's like, just start singing, I'll write it down. Can you believe that I sang almost that whole entire song beginning to end and she wrote it down, every word? I started off, well, I was only 3 years old when my daddy walked out on us. Okay? And it just poured out of my heart. That's where I was at that time in my life. It just came out, she wrote it down. So that song now, all of a sudden, what I didn't tell you is, okay, this is very important that you know. So understand how that song came about. At some point, playing the same place where I met this gentleman who helped me launch my career, get me started, even though he said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I did it anyway. I played that same venue, and I'll never forget when I played that song live before the recording, before I met this producer. And can I tell you something? There was a group of guys, tough guys, sitting at the front table. They laughed at me and humiliated me in front of whoever was there. And they acted like they were crying, boo-hoo-hoo, oh, Daddy walked out on me, or something like that. It was a very embarrassing moment. Now I'm with this producer, and I fell down on my knees. Let me tell you something. That same song, and I told him that story when I met him, by the way. And that's where I saw the determination in his eyes. It's not over till it's over, Tracilyn. And now I heard this song. I'm bouncing around. I heard this song. And I fell down on my knees. I cried. I never expected it to sound like that. It was a very emotional moment for the two of us. He could really feel my heart, my desire, the things I went through in life. We got to know each other through this recording process, understand. We used to spend a lot of time talking in the kitchen about all kinds of things. Slowly, he started showing me who he was. And I'm not going to go into much about that, but I found out that he was a songwriter himself and a lead guitarist of a national act. He played in arenas. He told me his story of how it came to happen. His belief happened at a very young age. He also told me that though I didn't recognize it, I was better off. I was better off than the deal he got. I already made more money doing what I love to do than he did, and he was signed to a record deal. I got to tell you something. At that time, you start thinking all kinds of things. Well, maybe I am better off doing this all by myself, for myself. You know? Because I want to be able to live and survive. I want to eat. Okay? I want to do nice things for my family. Why do all that you do and let somebody from the record company take it all? You know? And I'll tell you what, I got to hear a lot of stories, not from him, from other people that I met. And I started realizing, you know what, this isn't too bad. You know? When that album was released, that demo, can I tell you something? I got it out there to my family, my friends at the time, who I thought were my friends. I'm getting this stuff out. And can I tell you, the more it's coming out and the more the shows... Let me tell you something. I rarely sold that CD. Usually I had like a tip bucket available, and people were very generous to me. Very generous to me. And they would make donations to me, contributions, financial, drinks, invite me to their house, invite me to parties. I would get invited to do private parties, weddings, all kinds of things. And then the finances were a whole lot more. And I started writing out contracts. So I was getting some of the percentage up front, and I was going and getting invited to some of the most amazing parties. And I was hosting it. I mean, I was having quite a fan base. Because of the music finally being released, it just reached into the hearts of so many people. So what I started doing is, since I started doing okay, you know, and it was a good way to promote myself, I started giving the CDs away. Whenever somebody would tip me, you know, $5, $10, or whatever it was they did, I would give them different merchandise. I'm not going to really sell it. If all I'm going to care about is trying to sell things, I might as well forget it. All right? Let's give away little gifts. Music is the best way, because that's what I want to be known for, my music. Nothing else. Not the logo, not you know, the t-shirts and stuff. And let's be honest, I really just want to play. So the more my music gets out there, maybe I'll start getting requests, and guess what? I was right. People started wanting to hear my songs, specifically only spoken words. They looked forward to that. So much that I decided to kind of do it like a karaoke style, because I wanted people to hear what the music actually sounded like, so it would help them or encourage them to buy the CD. Okay, I did try to work with that. And I started taking my disc player, and I had my producer at that time, excuse me, I burped, sorry, to make a karaoke desk. And what I did is I would sit there in a bar stool and kind of act it out a little bit more, you know? The entertainer in me is really coming alive. And I'll tell you what, it really reached into the hearts of people, and that would get them to come up. I want that CD, I want that song. Is that song on that CD? Yes, here it is. The artwork that was on it was simply a picture of me with a guitar on the hill where I used to bobsled when I was a child in Jonestown. People loved it, loved it. Billy Ray Cyrus inspired me. Very spiritual kind of image that was on there. That was in the beginning of my career, just about, you know. Because it wasn't long after. I did a year and a half with my friend, and then I did it for probably, you know, maybe another year or whatever. All this stuff started happening pretty quick. So I think that was released in like 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. Now there was a lot of struggles, as I was saying, with this producer. He had his other life. He had his own things that he was going through. You know, he had his other career is what I mean. He had his career that he had to go to. All I wanted to do is music, so I was very forceful on this. When are we going to get in there? When can we get in the studio? How's it coming along? How's it coming along? I mean, this is over a year, you know, about a year to do 3 songs. I'm kind of getting a little frustrated myself. People are asking me, my brother's bugging me, you know, because I'm talking about this to everybody, and I need a release date. And I want to do all my songs. I want a 10-song CD. It just wasn't working. It wasn't working, so I settled for whatever. We worked out our deal. I actually had my record deal. He made up a contract, and the deal was that I give a certain percentage until I meet a certain cost. Okay, that was between us. I don't need to go into the details of it, but it's very important that you realize this. The only money that I kept out of those CDs, obviously most of them were given away when people donated to me, is I kept records of this, and I would only keep, I knew exactly how much I needed to pay for the CD, for the cost of the material, and I gave him 100% of what I made after that. So I wasn't getting any money from that. And he was always kind of impressed with that, because I would call him up periodically. It took a while to do it. There's no doubt about it. It took a while to do it. But it meant that much to me that I go through the experience and I stay faithful and I pay this back, and I want to do it through the CDs, not any other way. And he would always ask me, are you sure? Are you sure? Is everything else all right? Are you coming along? You got your other bills? You have your child and this, that. I'm like, nope, I'm giving this to you. I want to do this. I'm keeping to my word. So I loved it when the time came and he kind of signed off on it. It was paid in full. Oh, I'll tell you what, that was great. But guess what? Now I'm ready to get in there and do another CD. Can we do another one? Please? Please? How long is it going to take? 10 years? I don't know. Let's do this. Let's get it done. Now on the CD, understand this. I wrote the songs. He helped to rearrange them, which I really appreciate. I learned a lot about that through him. He taught me so much. When I would be going through the studio experience, let me tell you something. One thing I loved about him, when I would sing a track to the song, is he was very artistic. And he would help me to sing that song so much that we would spend hours, many hours, an entire night. Okay, I'm talking like 8 hours, 7 hours, 9 hours to sing one song, to get it right. We did a scratch vocal. The only thing I did was acoustic guitar and the lead vocals. He did everything else. Everything else. His talent was absolutely outstanding. And now he's helping me to learn how to sing. Because of the direction that I was going in, remember, country music? He felt very strongly too. You know, as I'm getting older, this is probably going to be a good outlet. A lot of the 80s rock and rollers and stuff are kind of crossing over. New country is big. Why not? If that's what you want to do, is that what you want to do? Yes. Okay? So he helped me. And we had a couple target voices. He knew I was a fan of Elvis. He knew I was a fan of Bret Michaels, Montgomery Gentry, Toby Keith. And that's kind of the vocal range that we shot for. Okay? I learned a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know who I was then. I'm going in the wrong direction. Not his fault. My fault. Maybe nobody's fault. It was just unknown at that time. Once I started having this music out, I started actually creating and generating, and I was beforehand, but I was creating a fan base. It was starting to grow pretty quickly, to the point that I would get invited to people's celebrations for holidays. Will you come out? The kids want to get to meet you. My mother wants to get to meet you. People would show up at the show. Here's my cousin, my sister. I mean, they started all of a sudden. This person who was going through a rough life years ago, being an outcast, all of a sudden was very appreciated. So much that even my family or friends at that time would say, here's my so-and-so, the singer I told you about. You know, so there's a lot of people talking about this singer. You know, this musician, this entertainer. This is the one you heard on the CD. I had people approach me where they would tell me that their child would be in the car and they were blind. This one lady told me a story of where her child was blind, but when he heard, he always wanted to hear Just You and Me on that album. And when she asked him, why did he want to hear that song all the time? What was it that he liked? He said, I had a vision in my head. That's what he said. I have a vision. I can see everything happening. Can you imagine the power that had on my heart when I would hear a story like that? I remember at that time I was starting to go down to Nashville because one of my dreams was to get a Nashville record deal, you know? And it started to change over the years. Maybe I could just get somebody else to sing a song, and it would just be a little bit easier. That I could call and say, hi, this is Tracilyn. I got a song on the radio, blah, blah, blah. I'm in your area. I would love to come and play a show. You know, is it possible to book a show? So I'm thinking, could be totally wrong, but at that time I'm thinking maybe this will be a little bit easier as far as getting shows, you know? Get your name out there a little bit, get a song on the radio. Why wouldn't it be easier, you know? I'm Michael Jackson, I sing Beat It. I'd like to come sing in your venue. Doesn't it make sense? I'm Toby Keith. I'd like to come and play in your venue. I'm going to be passing through next month. Sounds like it'd be a little bit easier. I could be wrong. It could be more challenging. Oh, you're Toby Keith, are you? You're Bret Michaels, is that it? Bon Jovi? Oh, sure, come to our venue. Come to our venue, never. I don't know. I'm thinking it would be easier. You're Madonna? You're Madonna, like a virgin? I don't know. We can't have you here. People love classic rock. Are you following classic rock or is that pop? We don't know. You know, I don't know if it's going to be harder or not. I'm thinking it's going to be easier. I remember I went down to Nashville and I came back. I was telling you, that's when I wrote Born to Be on Cumberland Street. You know? On the toilet, on the hopper. I was rocking and rolling. I'm telling you, I played every chance I could. But I loved playing my music the most, and I usually played my music the most by myself. You know, in my apartment. Staring in the mirror. Pretending I was one of these other people. I made some friends when I was down in Nashville. And they were telling me, why don't you live here? Why don't you live here? You should move here. You know, it's very obvious that you're passionate about it. Why don't you stay here and go to the open mic nights and network, get to know other people? You might be surprised what'll happen. I could never pull things together because all my shows, if you're going to do it as a live performer, you better live where you live and somehow travel back and forth in between. Because you come down to Nashville, you're not going to get paid to do it, but you're going to have the opportunity to network with some of the most remarkable people ever, musicianal-wise, right? People in the industry. Isn't that what you want, Tracilyn? Yes. I need a job for that. I need a job and a safe place to stay. Well, let me tell you something. I never could figure out a lot of things, so at that time I'm still sticking true to my career. I'm believing in myself. I'm pushing really hard. I'll never forget the day. This was a little bit later on, that a lady that I met down there with a child was sitting on her lap, and we used to start talking on the cam kind of thing. And she said, her daughter, who was 10 years old, said, could I sing your song to you? I said, sing my song? Which one? She said, only spoken words. I said, honey, I would love to hear you sing it. And she played the song, her mom played the song on her computer while the child sang every single word. I cried, and I cried, and I cried. I tried so hard to be strong. Can I tell you something? There's something to be said about a 10-year-old child who is going through very similar life situations and struggles that you did when you were a kid growing up. And now she knows every word to your song. And you know what? After she was done, she asked me, she says, is this a true story? That's when the tears came out. I never told anybody that was a true story. I don't know why. Maybe because the guys at the bar that I sang it at before made fun of me. I don't know why, but that day, and from that day forward, I said yes. And she started to cry. And she was apologizing for what I went through in my life. And I told her, honey, I said, this song's not meant to down talk. I didn't use this exact words, but basically to down talk my dad. The song was written because of my mother's love, our love. I said, very much like that on the lap that you're sitting on. Your mother loves you so much. And I can tell you love her very, very much. You know? And I would always try to talk to people when they would ask me that. From that day forward, I started, okay. She brought it out of me. I'm going to start being honest about this now. Yes, yes, yes. This is about my life. Because I really felt at that time that nobody needed to know it was about my life. But then I started seeing the opportunities. You know? Yeah, it is about my life. It's my testimony, part of my testimony. But it would also be an opportunity to share, listen, don't focus on the negative or what you perceive as negative. Let's look at the love. We have somebody in our life that loves us. What a blessing. What a blessing that is. Not a curse. You know? And let me tell you something. I got many stories like that. Many stories. It started bombarding me. So now I'm trying to personally make time for the children. Make time for these people who are considering themselves to be a fan of mine, who are taking time to drive an hour and a half to come see me. I'm going to take an hour and a half and go spend Christmas with them because I don't want to be alone. And they have children. And one thing I always wanted was a children's rock and roll ministry, because by this time I'm involved with church because of my last girlfriend. So I'm bouncing around here a little bit. All this stuff started manifesting very quickly for me. You know, because of that album that we had. And let me tell you something. You start struggling with the fact that because even my brother, the first day he heard the album, he was blown away by it. He said, I would have never thought that you would have sang so low. You know, I sang a really low, deep tone voice. I would have thought that your voice would have been captured to be higher. It's true. Very true. Obviously, the new recordings now, and anybody that hears me, you know, my more natural voice is right now, how I'm talking. It's very natural. I may try to lift it up just a little bit sometimes when I talk or when I sing, but I found out my voice is in the key of F. But I didn't know all that stuff back then. I didn't know myself back then. The first time my brother heard it, he was the first one to hear it too, in the car. He picks me up one day. We went for a drive. I said, this is it. It was a scratch vocal. Now understand, throughout my whole music career, my brother is loaning me things to make my demo. He has all the equipment you can imagine. He has recording gear like an 8-track, 4-track. He has a bass guitar, keyboards. My brother is going fanatic. He has everything imaginable. And anytime I needed something, I asked him. He had electric guitars. I used his Fender guitar for a long time. You know, and understand, I always felt bad because I knew I should have my own equipment, should have my own space to record in and stuff. My brother was there, and I felt like I was kind of using him, but it was very obvious that I wasn't doing it on purpose. I just, you know, I didn't have access to other things. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the finances. So he was always there for me to loan me his equipment. Other people that I met, you know, that I was networking with, I had no problems. If I needed something, there was something there for me. I didn't have to worry about it. Now I have this producer guy who helped me tremendously. Okay, tremendously. However, I struggled with it because it was a snail pace. I want to do this now. I don't want to keep waiting. I want to do it now. I want to do it now. Oh, I was such a brat. But it was true. I wanted that recording released now. It was like so much that I started hanging out with people at their houses, going to parties. And I gotta admit, in between running my business and stuff, I actually kind of like doing a lot of different things to break up the monotony of doing the same dull things over and over again. And I need to get away from the business, so I would go and visit these people, even though I'm doing business. My whole life, understand this, my whole life became a business. I didn't necessarily want it that way. But I'm now driving all over the place because I want to hang out with other people. I got friends now. I feel valuable. I did a lot of drinking. We did a lot of drinking and other things, and it was just great, you know? I'll never forget when I got to meet a couple, a guy and a girl who was living up in Hershey. They heard my music, the album that, you know, me and my producer did. And I'm telling you what, they were just like, he got drunk one day and he's sitting at the table. Why in the world aren't you in Nashville? Why aren't you signed to a record deal? Now at this point, I'm starting to get this all the time. And I gotta be honest, I don't know. Maybe I should have went to college and figured all this stuff out because I don't know. I don't know why. Why ain't I getting a break somewhere, somehow? Right, this mysterious break is gonna fall from the sky, from the heavens. I don't know. And this bugged some people a lot. which made me feel bad because I can't figure it out myself. I don't know what to do. Really, I just want to move to a bigger city, New York, and I'm watching behind the music scene how these guys are doing it, and they always seem to be devoted to going to New York, going to Nashville, or going, to California. I remember hearing Bret Michaels, talking about, girls and the weather and stuff like that. So why go to New York where it's cold? Why not go over here to LA? And they said whatever they said. I don't want to repeat it, but I remember stuff like this my whole life. You listen to all these country singers. It's Nashville, 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 you hear. So I want to go, and I'm figuring I'm getting older. Time to go to Nashville. Look out, Nashville, here I come. We don't want you to come down here, Tracilyn. Stay up there. Please. Please, you're going to be bugging us every day. Yes. I won't stop bugging the people in Nashville. Open up a door. Tracilyn, we're not opening up a door. You got to do it yourself. Figure it out. So guess what? There was a time of year around Christmas where you could actually call the local radio station Z107 and you could make a financial contribution and get any music heard. Your own. As long as it was respectful. Okay? Respectful music. They called me one day and they said, you know what? I gotta help you. I believe that somebody is going to hear your music somehow, some way. They were very Christian faith, very Christian oriented people. So he paid Z107, they did, to get one of the songs on. And can I tell you what? When they called me, they already told me they already did it. He said, turn on the radio, listen. It's coming on. And I listened, and I gotta tell you what, I fell to my knees. I cried. I couldn't believe it. Z107, country music, in Lebanon, Pennsylvania, or outside of Lebanon, Pennsylvania, is playing Tracilyn's song on the radio. Can you imagine what that did to me? That was my dream. My dream, you know what? And we were talking, I was crying, and all this stuff, and they said, somehow, some way, it came out for us too. So they got another song on there. They accidentally, evidently did not play the right one that they asked for. So they called up and they got it rearranged. They played the second song. Amazing people, by the way, Z107. I used to love listening to, that was my favorite station at the time for country music. Now I'm on. Okay, anything could happen anytime now. Something's bound to happen. It has to. Look, it's on the radio. By the way, my name is Tracilyn. My song was just on the radio. I'd like to come and play at your venue. Really? Can I tell you something? As funny as that may sound, a lot of people were listening that day. A lot of people love Z107. Country music. They heard Tracilyn's songs. We heard two of them. We were going to get our Christmas tree. I heard a lot of people saying that. We were going to get our Christmas tree when we heard that song. This is blowing me away. Now people are really, you can imagine, starting to look at me totally different. Totally different. Now this isn't just a human jukebox playing everybody else's songs. This is a serious recording artist we got here in our hometown. I'm friends with that person, by the way. That's my cousin. That's my relative. That's my friend. Can you imagine how I felt? Only, do you want to know something? I didn't feel good about it. Why is a lot of people that kind of didn't care too much all of a sudden seeming to care? Why am I being introduced as, this is my friend the singer I was telling you about, instead of, this is Tracilyn, I was telling you about my friend, or something like that. Now I was putting expectations on how people should introduce myself to their friends. And let me tell you something, I didn't want to be liked just because I was a singer, not by people who were shunning me, or making life challenging for me. Why are people treating me different? I would walk into Walmarts. Walmart started coming up, being pretty big in our area. I would walk into wherever I was in town. If I was in town, people would just come up to me. Sometimes ask me for an autograph. Sometimes just ask me, do I have a CD available? I'd like to get one for my family member. It seemed no matter where I was going, I was doing business. No matter where I was going, I was doing business. And I gotta admit, a lot of confused feelings about that. Eventually I started networking and meeting other people. Now my image has changed. I'm starting to get airplay on the radio. Another thing, I don't know which order this all happened in, but I went to Pat Garrett's where I saw Billy Ray Cyrus years ago. I went there. I love country music so much. I wanted to hone the craft of it all. Is that properly? I wanted to master this. I wanted to master this and see what else can I learn. I want to learn. I'm kind of street smart, and I've learned that I do better than going to school. I'm better at a street, learning off the street, learning through other people. Hey guys, how are you?
Hey, how are you?
I do much better learning off of other people and watching, observing. One of the bars that I was playing at in Denver, Pennsylvania, had karaoke on an off night. And everybody kept telling me, you know what, you ought to come out here, check it out, sing, bring your music with. Everybody knew now I had it like a karaoke disc, bring it out and sing. So that's my thing, I'm gonna go around and sing my songs. I got to meet the karaoke host, and then he somehow invited me out to Pat Garrett's place. I don't know what was going on up there, if it was his performance or whatever. Somehow we got talking. He was now in his 50s. He just turned 50. And he shared his life testimony. He's only now starting to do what he's been wanting to do his whole life. And he's very serious about it. And let me tell you something. This guy, he could sing. He could sing. He looked good. He was country through and through. So I started going there on a regular basis, and I would always sing my songs. Understand, all I want to do is sing my songs. I want them to be heard. I would take extra CDs with, give them away, all kinds of stuff. Not trying to move in on other people's shows, you know, because this is kind of an open mic night, but I just really want to get my name out there. I'm doing everything I can. That day when he invited me out to Pat Garrett, somehow we got talking about a whole lot of different stuff. And I found out somehow, some way that he was a radio DJ on an AM station, which was owned by Pat Garrett. Country music, old school country music, you know? So guess what? I got my first radio interview. Imagine how happy I was. I get to share my life story on a local radio station. So I started spreading that around everywhere I possibly could, on my internet, whatever sort of, MySpace was really big at that time. Wherever I could, I was trying to get people's words out. Unfortunately for me, it was just for a very small area, because anybody knows about AM radio stations, they don't reach out that far. Not like Z107 covers a larger portion of the county and stuff like that. I don't know how far they go. I don't understand all that. But the thing is I was really excited about it. I was nervous too. Very nervous. It was an amazing time. My first time at a radio station being interviewed. And let me tell you something, he was very respectful, very kind. He played my whole entire album and would talk to me in between. My brother recorded it for me. So now I'm taking these links, and guess what? I'm dividing this music up at that time, the interview up, and I'm posting it on my website. Now you can listen to it no matter where you are. You can listen to it. Look, I got my radio interview. Check this out, everyone. You know, and I really promoted this stuff. Website was the way to go. The internet was the way to go, and I knew that. Okay? Share it with everyone you know. All right. Now, through other family members who have friends with other people, they work doing all kinds of things, doing interviews for a Hershey paper. That was another one. And I can go on and on, by the way. I'm going to stop after this. You got the Daily News in Lebanon. You got all these places. Now all of a sudden I'm figuring out ways to promote myself in the local merchandisers, in the local newspapers. Understand, look how I'm working. Look how I'm working. Yes, opportunities are coming my way, but guess what? I am working. How much time am I spending singing my songs? How much time am I spending writing the songs? Not very much. Anybody who tells you, straight up, understand, I love doing all this stuff. But anybody who tells you if you do what you love to do, you never have to work a day in your life, let me tell you something. I worked my buns off. I worked my buns off. So I get into the Hershey paper, and guess what? That opens up a whole lot of doors. Now we're talking seriously. I hope this doesn't hurt or offend anybody, but this is a whole nother elite group. This isn't just up the neighborhood with the houses. You know, this is a whole general area. And I gotta be honest with you, I don't know why. Ever since Lafayette Street, I said someday I'm gonna be a person up on a hill with a house. How can I tell you I don't want the house? I'd rather do what I love to do for the rest of my life. You know, I'd rather tour around and do that. Or so I think. Maybe not. Everybody says, no, that's not true, Tracilyn. You just want to be you. Yes, I want to be me. Now doors are opening up in Hershey. Oh, I saw some of the greatest bands in all the world in Hershey, and now I'm playing the known hotel, or so they say. They're staying at these hotels. It's a good chance they're not even staying anywhere around here. They're staying at Hershey Hotel, Tracilyn. Go check it out. Well, guess what? I gotta be honest with you. I wanted to get closer to these people. And I don't mean these people in a negative way. I mean, I want to get closer to the people, to my heroes. Maybe they'll have a little compassion on me. Maybe they'll have a little mercy. Maybe they'll hear my story and be inspired to say, you know what? I got a friend of a friend of a friend of a friend. It's possible, Tracilyn. I was really believing this, because understand, meanwhile, this is Christianity, and I'm praying to God every day, back and forth through here. It's going to be a breakthrough somewhere, somehow, a little relief coming. I'm going to start meeting different people. Things are going to happen for Tracilyn. Can I tell you? No. Nope. I wasted a lot of time believing that stuff. But I'm working my way through, and I see I'm running out of time here in Battery. I might not be able to finish the whole story of my career today. It wasn't long after that I got to meet this amazing real estate agent. She's beautiful, amazing person. She had connections to some of the most elite people probably in the world. Okay, because she was very well known, very reputable, person of integrity. She had connections, and let me tell you something. She believed in me. She believed in me. She started opening up doors. I couldn't believe it. So I'm doing a lot of home parties now. In the houses on the hill. In the houses on the hill, remember this. I'm now playing in the houses on the hill, and I'm getting the opportunity to network. Network with people that would have never gave me a time of day anywhere else, to be honest with you. Really, they have other things to do. They have other things to do than to worry about Tracilyn down in Lafayette. Are you the one who took my milk? No, I didn't. I was just kind of supervising and making sure my friends weren't getting caught. Okay? So yes, I had all kinds of stories to share with them. You want to know something? In one of the clubs, I think that she was very well responsible for getting me into. They had a new venue opening up, new diner they wanted a name. And it looks like I'm going to run out here. Hold on, I'm going to transfer this over. I'll be right back.